All consciousness rise. The great court of Maat is now in session. Presiding is his divine honor, Asar Jonathan, keeper of the scales, lord of truth, guardian of balance. All hearts will be weighed, all tongues will speak, all souls will be measured.
Life, prosperity, and health to each and every one of you. Now, going back in millennia, you will hear the same greeting, but in Neteru, and it would sound like this: Unk Uja Seneb. Welcome to the Maat Trilogy Night Show, Season 2, Episode 1. Tonight, we began a sacred journey, one of 12 episodes, each reflecting one of the 12 hours of the Neteru's Ra journey throughout the Duat, which is the underworld of the transformative session from the ancient Nile Valley civilization called the Book of Gates. Every episode represents an hour, a gate, and a passage of light through shadow towards the resurrection. The Book of Gates is a book of parables of the New Kingdom funerary text. There are over 100 scenes in the tomb of Nesut Seti I, or today known as the priest king Seti I. And the text follows the Neteru Ra and the soul of the deceased through 12 hours of the night, each guarded by a Neteru. To pass over, the soul must know the names and the attributes of the Neteru. Those that did not know the names of the Neteru, they passed forth and they were cast into the lake of fire. And those that knew the names, they were able to pass over. And so those that were cast into the lake of fire was not for punishment, but for purification, because even fire has purpose in the alchemy of the soul. Now, the Book of Gates, it reveals that each hour of darkness is a stage of becoming. And late in the midnight hour, the Neteru Ra and the soul of the deceased resurrects and is renewed with a glorified body, which is the symbol of our own rebirth in consciousness, which leads us to a powerful lesson from our scribe for tonight. We step into the first episode, which is the first hour of Season 2. You know, it's an honor to welcome back our beloved scribe of the Maat Trilogy Family Night Show, whose light has shined since the beginning of our journey. Many will remember him from Season 1, Episode 2, Think Maat, that our brother and the scribe, Naeem, he first revealed the universal rhythm that underlies this journey. He reminded us that all is one, and that everything happens for the greater good, and that life is contraction and expansion. These three frequencies combined all of the 42 Pekka Impus, or today known as the 42 Declarations of Innocence, which forms the circular system of the term that I coined Maat Trilogy, the precision of consistent pulse that keeps this movement alive. He is the founder of Self-Flections clothing line, a brand that holds the 7 chakras, combining crystal pouches that energizes the body and it charges the atmosphere everywhere you go. He's also an accomplished author of multiple books called Exploring the 7 Magical Chakras, the 42 Ideals of Maat, and Restoring Divine Feminine Energy. He maps the human body as the sacred scroll of the multiverse, where each chakra mirrors a gate, and each heartbeat echoes the sound of the sun entering a new horizon, or what we call today the horizon. So through his books and his brand, he embodies the truth that self-knowledge is fashionable from the inside out. So as we begin, hour 1 is entitled The Neteru. So let us open up our minds, let us open our hearts as I turn the sacred floor of the Hall of Double Truth over to our very own Naeem. Receive him with a warm welcome as he come forth by day.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. Best one I got so far. So the first thing I want to do is I want to thank everybody for joining this call. I want to thank everybody that's here. And as he said, the topic today is the Neteru and explaining its hidden meanings and how it came to me. And it came to me during the download. So before I start, I want to explain really how I started getting downloads. And I think me explaining this will show how you can also get downloads. This is not no special power I got. I'm not no special or no different than anybody else. It's just about opening the channels, allowing for spirit to come through. So my journey of getting downloads first started in 2016. I first heard about Dr. Sebi. And I wasn't looking for spirituality. I wasn't looking to be awakened. But I was seeking truth. And when I heard about Dr. Sebi, the more I looked into him, the more it fascinated me. Like, how could a guy be healing people of AIDS, of cancer, of all of these diseases, and nobody don't know who he is? So it sent me down a rabbit hole of watching his videos, everything that he posts. And at this time, I was eating everything, pork, beef. Um, I literally was eating anything and everything. And once I started learning and um watching his videos, how he was talking about, you know, we are what we eat. And if you put dead foods in your body, you're actually eating death. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try his diet. And I literally, from watching these videos, just gave up everything all at once and never went back. Gave up beef, gave up pork, gave up chicken. And around this time, I even gave up white rice. I gave up anything that was not alkaline. And alkaline is just a word that means naturally grows from the earth. So when I started eating food that came from the earth, this is when I first started seeing myself. I'll be like triggered and start yelling. And any other time I start yelling, of course, my mom would justify why I'm yelling. But now it started to be like I'm yelling, and another part of me could see it now. And this was the beginning of my conscious awakening. So a little after this, I got introduced to the teachings of ancient Egypt, Kemet. And I was brought to a temple, which is the temple of Anu, and I learned about altars. So I built the altar to Tahuti, which is the god of wisdom, and I literally started working my altar every single day, lighting it, meditating, and going within. And this is when I first started getting my downloads. And the thing that I realized is that mental exercise is the same thing as physical exercise. If you try to meditate one time and then you say, oh, meditation ain't for me, that's like working out, doing push-ups one time or exercising one time, and because you don't see results, you believe that it's not for you. So I was doing it repetitive, and I started getting downloads. But when I first started getting downloads, to a certain extent, I kind of questioned, was this me making up stuff, or was this actually coming from something beyond myself? And the only reason that even made me think that it was coming from me making stuff up in my own mind and my own body is because of all of the downloads that I was getting was in my language. It was how I talk. So in my mind, I'm thinking, if this coming from something higher than me, it shouldn't sound like me. And of course, later I learned that when spirit come through us, our brain is the thing that deciphers what comes through. So you're gonna get it in your language. And when I first started getting downloads, I'm talking about I was getting downloads that was breaking down numbers, sacred geometry, stories, and almost anything that I brought to my altar, any questions I brought to my altar, I would get the answers back. And around this time, I was gang banging and going through, living in the street life. So I'm trying to share this information with my peers. And behind my back, I was being told, yo, I think I went crazy. Because to them, the information that I was trying to explain to them, it made no sense. It was as if I lost my mind to them. And I'm going to fast forward it. So I started hearing from other people, yeah, such and such said you went crazy. And it kind of made me not want to share this information. It made me kind of not trust it. Like, damn, am I going crazy making stuff up? And my old life and who I was becoming clashed, and I wound up in prison. And when I went to prison, I went in conscious. So I started ordering books, and I would read the book, and then it would lead me to an even older book, and then to an even older book. Well, now I'm reading books on the mystery teachings, on the mystery schools, on that was written in the 1800s and 1920s, and this was the aha moment for me. This is when my soul was like, yes, I get it. Where I started reading certain books, and the information that I was getting in downloads was showing up in these books. And the thing that was interesting was that I read one book and it was breaking down a bunch of stuff that I got in the download, but my download was more in depth than the book. And then the author of the book towards the end was saying like it's certain parts that he still don't understand. And I'm reading it like I get it, wishing that I could talk to him and break down the parts he don't understand and what's missing. So the downloads that I was getting was even clearer than the information that was in these books. So when this happened, I stopped guessing what was coming through my channel. And instead of second guessing it, now I wanted to understand this channel more. What is it? How am I getting these downloads? Where is this coming from? And when I started asking those questions, it came to me and basically explained to me that this information already lives within me. It lives within every cell of my body. And this is basically what it showed me. So right now I'm 40 years old, and my current belief was that my body is 40 years old. And the truth is that I got my body. My body is made up of millions of cells, but these cells came from my parents. That's why I look like my mother and I look like my father. But my mother and father look like their mother and father. And then their mother and father look like their mother and father. And then their mother and father. And this goes way back to where you're going to land with into your ancestors. So our ancestors live within us. And literally, we're the living descendants of our ancestors. So my body is not 40 years old. My body is the age my blood is. And this is where bloodlines and sacred bloodlines and this bloodline thing come from, because everybody blood, everybody DNA don't go as far back as ours. So these downloads, what it explained to me, what it showed me, is that what science call junk DNA, the divine don't make junk. That's just a straight up lie. So what they call junk DNA is actually inactivated DNA. It's DNA that's not activated, and thus being fed fluoride and all of these poisons within our food. This is what locks our DNA and keep it as junk. So once I started eating healthier, it started unlocking it. And then I started directing my mind using the altar. Them two things alone automatically creates downloads that allow you to connect to who you are and what's in you, right? So I want to make that clear first. So these downloads is not like a download that you get. It's coming from out the sky, or you calling on your ancestors and they coming from under the bed or out the window. It's actually you just unlocking the DNA that's already in you. And anything that your ancestors knew, it's in you. If your ancestors was awakened, you could be awakened because that DNA is in you. So now I'm gonna move forward so I can explain the Neteru. This picture right here is the Neteru that I'm gonna explain. So the Neteru is plural for netters. And netters is a name that we call, the Greeks call gods. So these are the different gods. So hold on, before I even jump into that, I want to explain this story. And this is a story that comes from ancient Egyptian mystery schools. And this was how they explained the Neteru in the schools. And so I'm going to paraphrase the story, and then I'll explain what this story actually means once I'm done paraphrasing. So this story goes something like this. You had the god or the Neter, Asar. Asar is known to the Greeks as Osiris. So you had the god Asar, right? And then this story, Asar is married to Osset. And in this story, this is his sister. And Osset twin sister is Nebuhet, and Nebuhet is married to Set, which is Asar brother. So in this story, it says that when Set was away, Asar had sex with Nebuhet. So he had sex with his brother's sister, which is his wife's sister, when he was away. And when Set came back, Set was so mad that he convinced Asar to get in a casket. He locked him in it and then cut his body up into 14 pieces and spread it all out through Egypt. And once this happened, Set found out what happened, and she went and found all of the pieces. And in the story, it says that she found all of the pieces, but it was one piece missing, which was the phallus, which was eaten by a fish. And once she got all of the pieces together, this was the first mummification in Egyptian history, where she restored him back to life. And after she restored him back to life, she met up with him in the spiritual realms, had sex with him, and became pregnant in the physical. So this was the first recording of a virgin giving birth. And when she gave birth to Heru, which the Greeks know as Horus. And Heru's job was to redeem his father and restore balance back to the kingdom by conquering his brother Set. So this created the fight between him and Set. So during this fight, Heru lost the eye. That's a big part. During this fight, it said that Heru asked his mother Set to help him, and she refused to help him. He cut her head off. That's one part of the story. So now as they fighting, he wound up using Tahuti, which was the god of wisdom, and Maat, which was the god of balance, and he won the fight. But after he beat Set, he didn't kill him, he didn't ban him, he allowed him to be a part of the pantheon. And just listening to that story or hearing that story and taking it for what it is, you would be like, nah, this, it all sound crazy. Insects, you having sex with your brother, Ashar, you'll make him, you not want to worship him because you like, why is he having sex with his brother wife while he away? And then Haru, you wouldn't want to mess with him. You like, why would he cut his mother head? It all sounds crazy when you don't know the true meanings behind it. So this is what we're here for, because the mystery schools was to veil the truth into a mystery. And this was called mythology, which means it's a myth, right? But the part that stuck in my mind is like, you could go to college today and get a master's in mythology. And you would think like, who would want to get a master's in made up stories? Like that makes no sense whatsoever. So now I'm gonna break down what each of these characters meant and what was the hidden truth behind this story, right? So the hidden truth is, Asar, this whole story is about you. This not about no old made up stories. This is about you in the present moment. And mythology is about the operation of the mind. It's how you work. And because of this, it's how you work. Mythology is more true than history because the operation of the mind remains the same today as it did in ancient times, while history is just a perception of the person that wrote it. We could all go through the same thing and write what we experience, and it will all be different because it's from your perception, the writer. So what I got in this download was Asar represents mind. He represents the oneness of all mind. And we was taught that we got our own mind. Like I got my own mind, you got your own mind, and that's far from the truth. There's only one mind, just like there's only one spirit. But mind could be used with different brains. So you do have your own brain, but we share mind. And the best analogy to see that is like right now, we're all on our own phones, on our own computers, and your phone has its own energy, but it don't have its own electricity. Electricity is something that we all share. It's only one electricity. So when you plug your phone into the electricity, it's getting plugged to the same phone electricity my phone is getting plugged to. So if you look at mind the same way, it's only one mind, but we have brains. And the same, yeah, we have our own brains. We don't have our own minds. And this is how you could read somebody else's mind. This is how you could do hypnosis on somebody and could enter into somebody's mind. This is how telekinesis is possible because there's only one mind. So I'm gonna break down what each one stands for, and then I'll tell that story over with this new knowledge. So Aset, she represents emotion, right? And emotion and mind are related. This is why they are related. Set, he represents the ego, which is individual mind, separation. So in order for us being divine beings, having a individual experience, we have to have an ego. The ego is the first part of being individual. It's what makes you individual. And Set wife represents feeling. And feeling is not the same thing as emotion. And let me explain that. That's why Osset and Nebahet was considered twin sisters. They twins because they're really the same thing. But an emotion is the eternal source from which feelings come from. So, for instance, love. Love is an emotion. And love, it gives itself 100%, 100% of the time. Now, however, a person, let's just say, for instance, somebody born into a family where there was no love, where their mother and father was in cycles or in the streets or whatever, whatever, that person could go through their whole entire life only experiencing a certain amount of love. And to them, they, this is, they could say F love, love don't live within me through their own experience. But because of they not experiencing love, don't mean that love wasn't there 100% of the time. So Nebahet represents feeling, which is embodiment of love. So it's a degree of it. And that's why she's her twin sister. And it's also why Osset was considered a virgin, because love could give to everybody and it's never tainted with. It remains what it is no matter who touches it. And this is where the whole being a virgin come from. Peru, and you looking at this from this aspect, Osset being mind, Osset being emotion, which is infinite potentiality. Everything comes from emotion. This is why they say Osset was the mother of everything, because everything have to go through a vibration before it could be physical, before it could be emotional, before it could be anything. It have to go through this vibration. So mind and emotion is what births consciousness. So Haru represents consciousness. Let me share this other picture. So Haru represents consciousness, the ability to be aware, right? And if you look at it, Nebahet represents feeling, as I said, and Set and Nebahet, sun, represents the body, the physical. So now let's look at that story from the perception of knowing what these things is. So it said Set was away, which is the ego, which is the sense of self, right? So when, of course, when Set leaves, or when the ego is not around, the oneness have sex with everything. It becomes one with all because it is all. So this is in the story when they saying he had sex with his wife. This is what it's talking about. It's talking about the mind going into the emotions. But Set, it said that he chopped, in the story, it said it chopped Osiris up, or Osar up, into 14 pieces. And the mind actually divides into 14 pieces, which I want to show you in this photo right here. So these is the 14 parts of the mind: perception, imagination, reason, memory, intuition, will, desire, emotion, belief, judgment, impression, expression, reflection, and integration. So this is what they talking about when they said Set chopped up Osiris. And when the mind is one, when all of those parts of the mind is working as one, it's almost you stepping into your God power, right? Put that picture back. It's almost like you stepping into your God power when when it's all working as one. So in the story, consciousness is always considered the third eye because that's what consciousness comes from. So in the story, when they said he lost the eye to have this one eye, it's just basically telling you they talking about consciousness, the third eye, right? So also in the story, they were saying that it was one piece missing that got ate by a fish. And the fish in the ancient times was considered the Vesica Pisces. So this Vesica Pisces, not only do it connect to the fish, but it also connects to the eye, as you can see in this picture right here. So this is the same consciousness that Jesus is. This is why Jesus is represented as this fish. This is why Jesus feed all these people with the two fish. But the Vesica Pisces in the mystery schools is this was where light come from. So in the story, all it's really saying is that the creative part of ourselves, which is the conscious mind, it got devoured by light. And this is how we have this individual life, right? So another part of the story where it said that he cut off his mother's head when he got angry, when he asked for her help. What that is telling you about is that consciousness is how we express, it's how we experience life, it's how we have awareness. So when we become angry, what it's telling us is that when we become angry, we cut off the powers to connect to our heart. Anger literally is a way to cut the mother head off where you can't be creative and angry. This whole story literally is talking about how the mind operates. And in the story, as you can see, he used Tahuti. Understanding Tahuti is masculine, but he's a moon deity, which shows you that he's not only connected to mind, but he could go into the emotion. Just like Maat is a feminine principle, which connects to emotion, but she got a feather, which means she could come into the higher, she could go into the mind. Maat and Tahuti is the two energies, basically rightful thinking and rightful emotions, because that's what balances you back into yourself. So just looking at both sides, right? The side with Asar, Set, and Haru, you could view that as your higher nature, your divine nature, the oneness of the mind, being able to control your emotions and being conscious. But your lower self is the other side. That's why the ego, which is Set, is your lower self. This is when, in order for you to have individuality, you have to have a forgetfulness of your divine nature. There's no way that you could know that you all with one and you could believe that you're individual. And this is why Set connects to unconsciousness, because you got to be in the unconscious state to separate from the oneness, which we call God, which we call divine. And when you live in your ego, you actually cut that oneness up where you can't see the oneness. You can't connect to the divine when you living in your ego because you're unconscious. And I'm going to just explain the ego, the unconscious a little deeper. So just think about like somebody that want to quit smoking cigarettes, right? Because our programs get programmed in our body, which is the lower nature. So for instance, somebody, me being a hypnotherapist, people come to me and they want to quit smoking cigarettes. And I will ask them, why do you want to quit smoking cigarettes? And they'll give me a list of things. Oh, I don't like how it smells. Um, it's messing with my breath. Cigarettes cost so much and da da da. And after I get this whole list of things, I would say, all right, so why you need me? Why would you need me if you got all of these reasons of why you want to quit? And the truth is that our body don't speak the same language as our consciousness. So this list is coming from the conscious mind. I'm consciously aware of why I want to quit. But the body runs off habit. It runs off what it's used to. So even though you want to quit, the body don't even hear you saying that because it don't speaks that language. So you talking that you want to quit, the body don't hear it. So how do you pass to the body? How do the body get the message? It's through the body's wife. It's through feeling. And the only way to get through feeling is through the subconscious. The subconscious have to pass it down. And that's why Offset is like the mediator. The subconscious is the mediator between the conscious mind and the unconscious body. And it only speaks, the unconscious body only speaks in feeling. And Ampu represents the physical. It represents form. And when it's talking about form, it's not only talking about the physical form, it's talking about all forms. Because our thoughts, when we have a thought and we put emotions to it and it becomes a belief, now that's a thought that has a form around it. And this is what separates Nebuchadnezzar from Offset. Offset is a virgin. She's the infinite source of motion, which is energy and motion. Nebuchadnezzar is a feeling. A feeling is anytime you got a feeling, it's already connected to a thought. So it's a thought cycle, and it's programmed in the body. So this whole thing is really about understanding how we work and how the mind operates. This never was about no gods outside of us. And these neters are channels of expression, so that because the divine expresses itself through these channels. And one more thing, so Mayat and Tahuti or Jehuti is the mediator to the lower self and the higher self, because in order for you to awaken yourself and to know who you are, you must have rightful thinking and you must balance your emotions. If your emotions is not balanced and you can't think with logic, you're gonna stay in the sleep state. And this whole thing is about waking up from this sleep state, believing that you are your ego, believing that you are the programs that's within your body, when that's just possessions. So all of the memories, all of the beliefs you got, I believe I'm this person, those beliefs possess you because you possess them. And this is why you'll hear people arguing over who got the most money out of Jay-Z and this person, and they'll be in they what you talking about? And you like, why would somebody be so emotionally evolved in something so that have nothing to do with them? And it's because our beliefs is stored in our body. We literally are what we believe. So you're not defending Jay-Z and how much money he got. You're defending yourself. And this is how our ego works. And because our ego, it really don't have a life of its own, it only could live through you. So anything that you got in your body, anything that you are, your ego fight for dear death to keep you the same. And I want to explain this one more thing before I open the floor. The ego is not a bad thing, because Set became Satan, Haru became Christ, and this fight between evil and bad, that's not what this is. Our ancestors didn't have a concept of good versus bad. It was consciousness versus being unconscious. And the same way you could program a negative program into your body, and now you got to experience this negative program, you could program a positive program. So if you program yourself to get money and to be happy and to be joyful no matter what, Set, this is why he didn't get killed at the end. This is why he became a part of the pantheon. Set will make that who you are. In the same way Set fights, or the ego fights to keep you the same in your negative, Set also fights to keep you the same in your positive. But the whole thing is, a lot of the programs that we got was passed to us not from our asses. It was passed from people that won us in this negative emotional and in this negative separation type mindset. And like I explained, our ego is designed to keep us the same because that's what makes us individual. If I didn't have an ego, that means I could watch TV, I could watch YouTube, I could watch, and everything I watch will change me. And you'll talk to me one week and I'm cool. The next week you talk to me, I'm a whole totally different person because I was changed so much because of nothing held on to who I am. So Set is not put there to as a negative thing. It's just that being that we are divine in nature, meaning we're one with all. In order for you to have an individual experience, you gotta live in a sense of forgetfulness. You gotta forget who you are as the divine to have a separate body. And being that we're all in a physical body, it's about now balancing your higher nature with your lower nature. And this is why the ancient Egyptian mystery schools was all about Maat. It was about finding balance. It wasn't about shunning your body, shunning your feelings, shunning your ego. It was about lifting your ego up to the same heights as Asar. And this is how you could live in the physical form as a god. And I'm gonna open the floor. I'm gonna open the floor now to anybody who want to add on.
Aru Shasu, happy Thursday. There's brother Tim, man.
Peace, peace.
I totally agree, man. As far as with Asar and the ideology of Asar and Set, it's all about balance. Like you said, it's all about balance. Both two things, they're not different. They're just two extremes on the same scale. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly,
you lean too far to one side, you're gonna be unbalanced, you're gonna be missing something, you're gonna be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta try to your best, you gotta strive, you know what I'm saying? Condition yourself to balance yourself. Don't think one thing is bad and one thing is good. Just think about balance, man, right in the middle. Because if you look at it like this, right? Fighting, you know what I'm saying? Fighting is considered bad in other people. Like, you shouldn't fight, you shouldn't do this. But at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta be able to defend. You gotta defend yourself. You feel me? You gotta defend yourself. So it's like, when do you choose to fight? That's where the balance come in. When do you choose to walk away? When you choose to fight? It's all about balance. For somebody to think they're never gonna fight, you're gonna find out you may have to fight one day to save your life. So at the end of the day, it's about balancing what works and what doesn't work. Figure out yourself, learn yourself, and figure out what works for you and what don't work for you. Don't think about good and bad. Think about that positive forward motion. That's it. That's all I wanted to add, brother, because you tapped into a lot of that, man. You pretty much cleared everything up. I agree, man. I appreciate you, man.
Peace.
Yeah, I got one question. So, you know how you were saying you are we through your DNA, through your blood, through your ancestors, that you could tap in. You know what they know. But what, like, is there cases to where, let's say, somewhere in your bloodline nobody was woke? So how would you able to like get the information from them if none of them were woke?
And so that's why I said the whole thing was about this bloodline and people wanting a specific bloodline. And if nobody was ever woke in your bloodline, it's a good chance you gonna be asleep, because it's what you made of. And you got to look at it like how breeding dogs. right? So if you breeding dogs to be a fighting dog, and now after all this breeding to make this dog a fighting dog, now you want to get it and put it around other dogs, and you want to, it's just not gonna happen because it's not in his bloodline to be that. You know what I mean? So, but I would say this: the fact that we all are Asar, we all are oneness. All souls could come back to that oneness. And we had ancestors that wasn't woke, that went through the process of waking up. But after they became woke and then they passed their genes on, it was way easier. It's almost like they left a template. And so when we call on our ancestors, when we call on these names, we're evoking the template that was left within us. So it's like, you don't got to do the hard work because you already did it. You are your ancestors. Why would you have to do over what you already did? But if your ancestors ain't never did no hard work, yeah, you might be the one to have to go through it. But that don't mean that you can't become awakening because your ancestors never was awoke.
Right. You always got a chance. So it's a chance to change your bloodline or to, you know what I'm saying, to, like you said, awake.
To become the new template for the for the ones that come behind you. Right.
No, I got it. Good look.
Peace.
Yeah, bro. I just want you to for everybody to try to clarify the difference between the good and the bad. Like when people look at it as positive, negative, good and bad, could you be more clear on that?
All right, so just as you explained earlier, right? Good and bad is two sides of the same pole, right? So one can't exist without the other. So for instance, if you had all good and no bad, you won't even be able to identify good. You won't even be able to call it good because it would be nothing to compare it to. So good and bad is just two sides of one pole. And the middle point where the extreme is good, the extreme is bad. But in the middle where it meet at, they cancel each other out so much that neither exist. And from my understanding, bad is just a perception. It's really not, it's not real. And most of us know for the average person, your awakening came through quote unquote bad times. You get what I'm saying? So if you hit your leg and you consider that as bad. But if you didn't feel that pain, you won't even know that you hit your leg. So is that bad? So bad is really just a perception from the ego perception. But going back to the law, everything happens for the greater good. So only an individual could experience bad. But from the mind of the divine, bad don't exist. Because if you believe in a good God, and you say that God is good. So if God is good, how could a good God create bad? It don't even make no sense. So I did ask because when we look around today, we see fluoride in our water, and we see it's obviously a hand that's trying to keep us asleep, that's trying to keep us down. And you would say, oh, nah, that's definitely evil. That's definitely bad. And this was something that I had brought to my higher self, asking like, yo, why is this even happening? What is this? And what it explained to me, it showed me the law of rhythm, right? So the law of rhythm states that the further something falls, the higher it bounces up. So if you got a basketball and you bounce it down a little, it's just gonna bounce up a little. But if you bounce it down real hard, it'll go up way higher. So what it explained to me is that we knew that we was going through the dark age. And let me explain that real fast. we go through cycles where it's almost like how the seasons is. How you got spring, summer, fall, then winter. Then it goes around. That cycle exists in the spiritual realms. So we go through spiritual cycles. That's a whole nother topic, but a spiritual cycle is 25,920 years. So for 6,000 plus years, we are in each season, right? So we just came out of the dark age, which was the spiritual winter. And just like a physical winter, things not growing, it's cold, it seemed like it's death, it seemed like it's all bad. That's what we just went through the last 6,000 years. But if you go outside in the wintertime, you're not going to say, oh, it's evil outside. It's negative outside. It's bad outside. No, it's just what it is. And the winter is designed to cultivate the ground so when the spring comes, things could grow. It's almost like when you're in the womb. So that part is needed just as much as the spring is needed. But if you look at it like it's something negative, the winter is negative. So I said all that to say is that when we was in a dark age, we knew that the spring was coming next. And because of the law of rhythm, we wanted to fall as far as we can fall, because that's going to create us to rise as highest heights that we never reached. Looking at it in a physical form, you like, nah, I don't want to be no slave. I don't want to fall to the bottom. But from a spiritual standpoint, we want to rise to the highest of heights no matter what we got to go through. So a lot of the stuff that we created, the white man, the negative, and everything that we look at as bad, we created it to take us down further so we can rise higher. So when you look at it from the perception of the all, it never was for the bad. It was for the good. But when you looking at it from your ego and you in it and you taking a shower in fluoride water and it feel like these people attacking us, it all seemed bad, but it's all for the greater good. It's only good. But however, if you perceive bad and you put negative in your energy and you believe it to be bad, that would be your experience. But that's not the experience of the divine.
Yeah, bro, you talking right now, bro. You on some whole nother stuff. But yeah, no, for real, cause like they tell us, like you said, cause I think about that too, like what's good and what's bad. They tell us what's bad through the programming.
Exactly. And you being a divine spirit, if somebody tell you something is bad and you believe it's bad, now you experience bad. It's just that simple. But you ain't experiencing it because they told you it. You experiencing it because you believed it. You internalized it. And we all have we're all having separate experiences, but together. So me and you could experience the same exact thing, and you could leave out saying, "Oh, it was terrible, man. They was trying to kill us, and this and this and that." And that's your experience based on your belief. I could be like, "Yo, it was excited, woo!" and da 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 da. And I got a total different experience from the same thing. So it's like, how could we both experience one thing but have two different experiences? Because our ego experienced it from the lens it looked through. And this is what separates belief from knowing. Truth from what you believe to be true. And you could believe something to be true because you experience it, but that don't make it true. But when it's true for everybody and everything, then you know that's absolute truth. And that can't come from an ego perception. That only could come from a divine perception.
Word, it's just like, somebody could be watching Nat Geo or actually see something in real life, like an animal hunting another animal to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, people look at that, it's gruesome. Oh my God, they feel so sorry for the animal that's being hunted. But then the they go and cook dinner. You know what I'm saying? They go and cook dinner with their chicken, you know what I'm saying, and everything else on there. But they don't realize that animal had to get murdered for them to eat. You know what I'm saying? If they'd have saw the product,
Exactly.
they'd probably felt different about it. But they calm knowing that it's already dead. I ain't got to worry about seeing it happen and none of that. But they can sit there fried up and all that. But it's like, come on, like you got to look at it both ways. You know what I'm
All
saying?
about perception.
Word.
And how you perceive something and how you believe something is how you experience it. So that goes back to it. If you believe it to be evil, and you believe it to be negative, and you believe that's the experience you're gonna have. So like going back to the never head. Emotions is what it is. And this is what I saw too. Coming on, I'm not used to talking in front of a bunch of people. And I could say, oh, I feel nervous. Or I could say, I'm excited. What's the difference? They both feel identical. The only difference is the mindset that I put on it. If I call it excitement, now I'm like, all right, I could go. But if I call it nervousness, now it's locking me up. But it's still the same emotion. And it's the same thing with love and fear. They're identical in feeling. And I experienced that I experienced love, and it was expanding within me. And once it got to a point where my body couldn't handle the love no more, it started feeling like fear. And I'm like, yo, what the? So then it gave me the mindset, what's really the difference between love and fear? Perception. And this is why, going back to Offset, she's the virgin because she's untouched by any ideas you could put on it. Once you put an idea on it and you form it, now that's a feeling. That's no longer Offset no more. That's her twin sister, never had. And when we really understand these principles, like I said, you can see that it makes you study the mysteries totally different. It makes you look at mythology totally different. Now mythology is not about a bunch of old stories that our ancestors made up. Now it's about you. It's about know thyself. And the more you go into it, because of each part I broke down little by little, but I could go in on each part for an hour because it's that much depth in it. And that's all depths in you knowing yourself.
A lot of truth spoken as far as bringing balance to the body. We have the polarities in our body, the masculine, the feminine, part of our brain. Left side of our brain is the masculine, the right side is the feminine. So in order to have that Kundalini energy rise up to the heights that it should, we got to bring that balance to those energies and frequencies. And so a lot of what he's saying, it definitely makes sense to me.
Read.
And my spirit bear witness to the truth.
Peace, Iamatep, family. Iamatep means I come in peace for those who don't know. At the end of the day, it all boils down to oneness. We got the consciousness, the ego, your left, your right, as above, so below, as our inner, so our outer. But at the end of the day, to become balanced, you must become oneness. We got a left brain, we got a right brain, but at the end of the day, we still that balance is oneness. So, your how you want to put it, your higher self, source, it still boils down to the oneness.
Peace. I just want to share something that resonates deeply with me from this conversation, and I have shared this with Naeem before. The aspect that he touched on regarding, our minds and our bodies and how we ourselves can, disassociate. So we spoke about it, and I said, we can specifically myself. I suffered a trauma in childhood, and a way that I, tried to deal with healing was, hey, go to therapy, talk it out and do that. And I would notice that even going to therapy, learning all these strategies with how to deal with things mentally, it's really your body that remembers everything. And we can do all this mind training and everything, but if we don't train our bodies, like Naeem said, with meditation and things, like I had to use like somatic therapy to help your body, tap in with your mind. And I just wanted to share that because a lot of people, they think that, it's something wrong with them because they go into therapy. They think they, quote unquote, doing everything right or good, like we've been discussing. And it's really bigger than that. It's bigger than just your mind. All of these things have to be in tune with each other for true and real healing.
Hello. Well, I've been on, I guess, like my own kind of like off journey for a little while, and so just hearing his words and his teaching was just very refreshing. I'm multitasking and doing some homework while I'm listening, and I'm just glad that I got the invite. So hopefully this is the seed that will get me back in alignment of where I should be, and it was very informative.
I was invited in tonight. My name is Tay Brown. And I just have to say it's very enlightening, and it was just such a refreshing to hear the conversation, because when you're dealing with feelings, especially in the professional world, I have a manager. It's interesting. We were talking about this. My manager is he processes his daily functioning on like emotions. Like if we need to, or like I work in maintenance, so if we have to order, or we have to call a plumber, or if we have to call, someone, an electrician, it's like, oh, why do we need to do that? Let's just, he'll ignore it. It's based on emotion, but these people need their electrician or their plumber or the exterminator, things like that. It's all emotion. So it's frustrating the team. So it's like, how do you deal with like a manager who goes by feelings as opposed to getting concrete things done?
I wanted to say that what I got out of today from Naeem's message, I'm kind of aware of what he's already said. We kind of spoke about it before, but my main takeaway would be that our mind, body, and soul has to be aligned. If it's not aligned, we will... Sorry, I'm reading my notes. So I want to go back to Set cutting off his mother's head, and basically when we're angry, we cut everything off, like Naeem said. So if we are at a point where we're not aligned with our mind, bodies, and soul, we are incapable of doing anything that comes from compassion, drive, or just overall creativity. This is basically a summary of what he said, but I just wanted to say what I got to take away from.
So as the sun Ra journeys through the 12 hours of the night, the soul travels right beside him, passing through gates of consciousness, shedding shadow and reclaiming light. Brother Naeem has reminded us that these gates are not distant stars, but they're inner thresholds. And for those that are just joining, just to catch you up to speed, the sacred passage, it's our own becoming. So within each of us lives Asar, the divine seed awaiting a resurrection. The body becomes the scroll of the heavens, and the heart, the temple of truth, and the mind, the throne of creation. And so each nature, they stand as an aspect, that one divine mind, Asar as oneness and universal consciousness, Aset as heart and holy emotion, Haru as awareness and will, Maat, and Jehuti as balance and wisdom, Set as ego and separation, Nebetet as feeling, and Pu as body and transition. Together they reveal the sacred anatomy of the awakened being. And so the cosmic architecture of the soul is becoming made flesh. And so within these divine forms live the 14 parts of Asar. You have, what do you say? The 14 functions of the mind. Perception. It opens the gateway to truth. Imagination creates vision. Reason weighs understanding. Memory. It preserves the pattern of life. Intuition knows beyond logic. Will. It commands energy into form. Desire fuels manifestation. Emotion colors vibration. Belief programs reality, and judgment discerns truth from illusion. Impressions receives divine influence, and expression releases creation into the world. Reflection reveals the mirror of self-awareness. The integration, or what you will call the gathering of all fragments back into the one mind. And so through these 14 gates, the scattered parts of Asar are the remembered and the enthroned within us once again. And so from the book of Gates, it declares, open for me the gate of the Neteru, of the horizon or the horizon, and may I behold the hidden one who dwelleth in the carven of his form. And from the book of the sky, it declares, Ra's journey in peace, and the stars follow his voice. Every heart that remembers his order becomes a flame upon his path. And from the pyramid text, it declares, O Ra, cause me to ascend to the sky amongst the imperishable stars. I shall not perish. And from the coffin text, it declares that I am yesterday, I know tomorrow, and I am he who was and he who shall be. And so these are not relics of forgotten age, but they are living decrees of the soul. The same sun that once sailed the celestial Nile still rises within you. The same Maat that balanced the stars still measures your heart. The same divine order that governed the Neteru still guides every breath of your becoming. And so as the gate of the Neteru closes, we know the names of the Neteru, so we are able to pass over into gate number 2 into the second hour. And we remember the vow of the Shemsu Haru, the followers of Haru. And it states, we follow the light that never sets, the truth that never bends. So may that truth be your compass. May that light be your protection. And may your heart be as light as the feather and your mind as radiant as the sun. Naeem, we want to thank you again for walking us through these wonderful hours as we move forward through the gates and restoring the remembrance of the divine mind within all of us. The gates are closing, but the light remains. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on the Maat Trilogy Night Show. And always remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. For we do have a YouTube page that you will be able to log on to @Maat Live, @Maat Live. All right. And if it's anything else that we can do, please put it in the chat. We are here to help you, not only intellectually, but physically, emotionally, metaphysically, and spiritually. And in our ancient tongue, we end the night by saying, Ankh Uja Seneb. Life, prosperity, and health. Good night.